After 8 years of the nomadic life, involving crossing oceans in a 34-foot Sabre, refitting an aluminum boat, and then taking that to the Arctic Circle, we're back at it again with a brand new build. This is Matt and I'm Jessica. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and join us every week as we start our newest project of building a 42-foot catamaran from the ground up. Drop it like it's hot.
It's so hot. Way back in the fall, you saw us working on our water tanks and starting that process of building the structure that is going to be the water tanks. Back to it now. The process is really for today is to go through and fair the inside of the tanks. The tanks themselves are going to be painted with a FDA approved potable water coating. So they'll have that, but we want to make sure that there isn't places for algae bacteria to form inside this tank and it's easy to clean. So just going to go through a quick fair to clean up the tape edges where the fiberglass work was done, the bottom of the tank to make sure that's nice and smooth, all of that process we're going to go through right now. And what we're using for that is we're using the Total Boat Total Fair, which is their epoxy fairing compound. Reason why we're using epoxy, as you may know, we are using polyester or vinyl ester for the rest of the boat. Inside the water tanks, we want them to be as watertight as possible. So they are going to get this, and then they will get a barrier coat that we apply to the whole surface. Then that FDA potable water coat is going to be applied in the final stage of it. So of course, like everything in the boat, we've got a lot of steps that we need to do. I went through and sanded it yesterday, cleaned it all up, but there's a lot of rough surface there that does need to get smoothed out.
So Matt has got his workstation set up here, and I think we may have mentioned before, like these deck surfaces, we do try and protect them, but eventually we're going to have an EVA foam covering it. So like if
not down here we won't.
Oh yeah, not like right next to the hatches, but for the rest of it. All right, so we did still put some protective paper down. Matt has his board that he's going to be mixing on along with the squeegee as he starts to prepare his 2-part epoxy resin from Total Boat, which thanks Total Boat for supplying us with this.
Thank you, Total Boat.
So that we can prepare our water tanks.
Gloves on. Because it is freezing cold out. You can actually see the snow stacked up on top of our ceiling right now.
Uh-huh. We've been sliding off all day long.
Alright.
That looks like cake frosting.
Mmm.
Not to be eaten.
And blue, Smurf blue.
Went to get Matt a couple sticks so we could properly mix this without cross-contaminating. Horrible job at breaking it in half, but you know what? It'll do.
What happened to the little?
All right, so Matt can't talk anymore, but
yes,
it's a 1-to-1 ratio of the 2 different parts. So as you can see, one is yellow, one is blue, and when they come together and are mixed thoroughly, it should actually kind of be the color of the foam, because you don't get enough of that in your life.
That was really easy to mix.
Because it has been right around freezing or below freezing in the tent, this is another item that we have been keeping in a separate storage heated area. So it should be really easy to mix, and that way we don't have to worry about going bad. Dang, it's loud. Foam green.
It is very foam green. That is the same color.
It is the same color.
Did not know what to expect.
All right, so it is thoroughly mixed now. What is the work time on this?
This temperature, about 30 minutes.
Okay. I don't think us with the camera are going to be able to see much of what's going on here. I'll have to wait until he reloads and then I can inspect. How is it going on?
Good.
Good.
Actually doing like the worst part right now where there's a big undulation in there.
Kind of getting the worst out of the way.
Yep, getting that out of the way. Now I gotta go up there, up the sides.
So Matt's just finishing up in there. I'm busy posting to Instagram.
Yeah, so you might as well go do something.
I may as well go do something.
Yep.
So Matt and I don't want to say we're doing competing projects right now, but as he's doing the epoxy fairing compound up here, I am actually in the guest berth right below where I'm sitting doing fairing compound in the cabinets and what will be our pantry. So I'm gonna go ahead and get working on that right now. Matt's gonna hop over to the other side. My sanding is gonna be way too loud for him to like really show you as he's going what he's doing. So we'll come back to this in a little bit. But it's time to get some work done because we want to get this boat sailing someday.
Little light sanding needed. Work on the coves down there, need to be redone. Yeah. This is my first time fairing in a lot of years. I will get much better as time goes by. We got a lot of fairing to do.
It's kind of funny that when a day gets up into the mid 40s, like today, it feels really nice, the fact that I don't have a coat on. And because it is a little bit warmer, it means that it takes less to warm up those portions of the hull, which is good for me because my project for the day today is going to be fairing the what's going to be the cabinet area and the master vanity. So I've sanded them down. I'll explain a little bit more when I get in there, but now I will be working with Total Boats polyester fairing compound. And before I get started on the starboard owner's area, I'm going to show you what I've done over on our port forward guest bunk. We always call that our test area just because it's probably going to be used the least area in this boat, so it's kind of nice while we're just kind of figuring things out. So I went through and started doing the tape lines of the cabinets in there and also the area under the bed. And I will say this right now, I am still learning, so if you have any techniques on good ways to fair, the best ways to do it, please let me know. I am all ears. Okay, so this is bulkhead 5, which on the other side up there is our salon, and bulkhead 4 here, of course, is the support over the bed, so that leaves us this space in here for storage. We think this first cabinet we've decided is going to be kind of like extra pantry space, and then this is going to be like guest storage space here. And if you will notice, one of the mistakes that I kind of did on this side is all of these black marks behind me are where the shelves are going to be placed, and I started this process because I knew getting back into those corners would be much easier before the shelves were in. What I should have done was to stop within like 2 inches on each side of the shelves because that's going to have to be sanded off now in order for Matt to actually glass and bond the shelves in. So we've taken note of that. When I go to work today on the other side, I will be aware of that and will not fair the areas where the shelves will be placed in. And we're not really going to look at the top right now because I totally messed up trying to do the coves there, but if we focus down here, you can see I kind of started at the tape lines and kind of worked my way out to get a smooth surface there, and then I will be going just lightly back there. And then in the space under the bed, I'll kind of lightly show I just did a light fair of the tape lines as well. I have to go back and kind of cover the rest of the green areas. But at least we're starting to turn some of this green foam into white. I'm getting the hang of it because, to be honest, like this could be a year of my work. We've decided that I'm the person that has the better touch for this kind of thing, so while Matt is busy trimming pieces, I'll probably help him bond a bin when he needs it, but my job is going to be to sand and fair and smooth every surface in this boat. And now moving into the master vanity, again we're passing through bulkhead 5, so basically opposite of what we were just at. Have the heater pumping in some nice warm air in here. But this is going to be our storage space behind our vanity. I think we've talked before that the toilet is going to sit in this corner. We've kind of played with it. It's just not going to work there in the wet head, so we're fine with it being here. And counter with sink is going to be here. Cabinets, we think they're going to be sliding here, so we'll be able to do a raised bowl for the sink if we want to. Anyway, that's not the point of today's story, but I have gone through and sanded the tape lines here. Just to kind of get them to blend in a little bit more. I haven't done a scouring wipe, so I can touch them. So what I'm just looking for is kind of like a nice transition of the tape line into the foam, so that when I go to add the fairing compound, I don't have to use too much. And in this area as well, you can see behind me, Matt had gone through yesterday with our laser level to mark where the shelves are going to be, so I'll know what areas to work around today. Laser light show in the bathroom. Oh. Pretty cool things happening with your clothes right now. And what we have decided in these areas, because the chamfered portion is kind of curving up and not giving us flat surfaces, on this side we will have one small lower shelf, kind of like going back to this. I think Matt has it cut. Let's see if I can slide that in here. An idea. So this will be our lower shelf behind the vanity. It's going to have a false back up here, so this whole area I don't need to worry about because it's just going to be empty space. So first things first, I'm going to mask up and I'm going to glove up and then give those areas a scouring wipe, give that a few minutes to dry before I start mixing up our fairing compound. I'm going to suit up in Tyvek because from my experience this can be a bit messy, and I made the mistake before of wearing one of those like head sock coverings when I was sanding and not when I was doing the fairing, and I did the overhead section and I wasn't paying attention, and in those tight spaces I went to shower in the end of the day and like my head was just white from fairing compound, so won't make that mistake again. What I'm going to be working with today is Total Boat's polyester fairing compound, and unlike their epoxy compound, which is a 1-to-1 ratio, this one gets mixed with the normal catalyst that we would use for any like polyester or vinyl ester resin, just the MEKP, and for every ounce of fairing compound you get about 15 drops of this. I normally go at about 4 ounces at a time because it is like a fast curing compound, so I normally get within the heats that we're working 20 minutes, and because I'm learning, I'm being extra careful, so yeah, that's what I mix, and then I keep doing that over and over again. That was my first 4 ounces going on, and one of the things I noticed with it is that it wasn't really mixed well, so halfway through I kind of started using my spatula to smooth that out. And again, please send me your tips if you have them, but time to mix another 4 ounces and go back at it. So I don't feel like I'm doing too bad of a job getting this to go far. I mean, maybe I'm using way too much, but it feels like versus the last side, I'm doing a better job of kind of spreading it. So I'll show you a little closer to what I've done so far. So here we can tell I totally messed up. I was supposed to follow this line for what's going to be the shelf, and I went by a previous line trying to not sand where it's going to be. I was wrong, because if you look at the back, which I was blocking with my body, you can see that the shelf is going to be here. So now all this gets to be sanded out. But on this side, I did leave a space for where the shelf is going to go. And you can tell up here it started to cure on me a little too early, and it's kind of getting bumpy and gross. That's what we don't want. Kind of a cold and rainy day inside the tent, which is funny because if you just saw the temperature, that's actually about 10 degrees warmer than what we've been working on. But because I'm going to be sanding and hopefully burning some calories, I didn't put on all of the long underwear that I normally wear in here, like 3 rounds of base layers pretty much all the time. But we did let this cure overnight, so it is nice and hard and ready to sand. So I just got some sandpaper, and yesterday I'll show you my way of sanding is probably a little bit different than most people would do. And on the topic of sanding, it just has to be said, because Matt and I have been ordering some blocks and other things which will get us through the next months and months as we get ready to fair and paint surfaces. What the hell is this? Who puts deranged clowns on their goods? Does anybody know of this company or why there's an insane clown posse? I haven't been able to figure it out, but here is what I like to work with personally. I know it's common that most people would go at it with a random orbital like this using maybe some 80 grit sandpaper, and that is what I started to do in the other area, but then I went to the mouse to kind of do some like fine detailing in corners. And then I just kind of like kept working out from there and found out that for me, I move much faster solely using the mouse. I get a better result. And if Matt were here, you'd see him just about to roll his eyes as I say this, because when I work with the mouse, I get a surface that's like butter, okay? It is so smooth. I absolutely love it. So these came in off of our Amazon wish list yesterday. Perfect timing because I had just run out of my 80 grit from the other space. Now I'm fully stocked to go hit the vanity area with it, and hopefully it won't take me too long, except for constantly sliding out of there. It's been a bit of a struggle.
To measure the love you throw around, I could never hold you down. One of us will have to take a bow. Feeling you so close to me, we drive around. Everlasting love, so much to go around. You got me so high, I can't come down.
one afternoon of sanding down for me, and as you can tell, if you see all the way up there, I didn't get everything done. It turns out that either I didn't have enough heat on it initially when I applied it, or I hadn't put enough curing agent in. I found it was a little gummy today and hard to work with, because when you do it right, it works with your sandpaper so well. It sands incredibly easily. So I obviously did something wrong on my part here, which is why we have our infrared heater kind of angled at spaces, just trying to get that extra heat on it to make sure that it does cure. But I did try my best today, and I did end up going with the orbital sander for some parts just because it was hard and gummy. I've noticed when I do the mixing right and it cures properly that I seem to have more control with the mouse. Like in a few areas, there's one back here as with the orbital sander trying to like knock down one area, and then I went too far on another. And to be honest, when I'm working above my head, I just don't have those muscles yet. I'm working on them. And I can only do about 3 hours, maybe 4 hours of sanding a day, because that's all these little noodle arms can handle right now. But I'm ready for vacation. I'm gonna soak up some sun. I'm gonna see my family. And when we get back in a week, it's back to this.
Give me your freedom. Whoa, yeah, me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium.